students, welcome to Radhika Smart Classes. As we have done the first part of the chapter, Chemical Reaction and Equation. Today we are going to cover redox, the redox reactions, displacement reaction and double displacement reactions. But before going to that, let's quickly revise yesterday's topic, combination reaction and decomposition reaction. So I have taught you types of the reaction, combination reaction. What are the combination reaction? Where two or more substances, means elements, atoms or compounds combine to form a single product. So we have done a very important example, calcium oxide, which is also known as a quicklime. With water, calcium chloride react vigorously with the water to form slaked lime, which is calcium hydroxide, and give out heat. So the reaction where the heat is released, what is that called? Exothermic reaction. So this is our combination as well as exothermic reaction. After that, we have so many reactions, carbon plus oxygen, hydrogen plus water. And more than that, under exothermic reaction, you can show the burning of the natural gases. Any burning of paper, wood, charcoal, carbon, even your LPG gas, they are all exo because heat is given out. Similarly, in our body, respiration reaction is also an exothermic reaction. So next is our decomposition reaction. As we have discussed, there are three types of decomposition reaction: thermal decomposition, electrolytic decomposition and photolytic decomposition. Under thermal decomposition, we have a green vitriol where it gets heated up and decompose into ferrous sulfate. This is anhydrous. But this reaction actually starts from ferrous sulfate 7 water. So this is a green because it is a green in color. It is a green vitriol. Then ferrous sulfate undergo again thermal decomposition to form ferric oxide, which is solid reddish brown. And most important is SO2. SO2 has a what characteristic? Pungent smell. So please remember the observation plus SO3, right? Second most more important decomposition reaction is calcium carbonate, eggshell, marble, chalk. If they undergo thermal decomposition, what do they form? Calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. One of the most important question, this quicklime, it is a very important constituent of the manufacturing of cement. So please remember use of calcium oxide. And the third one, the most important reaction of thermal decomposition is, I will show you guys, it's this diagram. This is a thermal decomposition of lead nitrate. Right? So, do you remember when the lead nitrate undergo thermal decomposition, what does it form? Can we write quickly? PbO plus, how I have taught you, 4NO2 plus oxygen. Right? So, next step is balancing. I told you we have to remember the coefficient 4. So, here 2, here 2. And the most important thing is 4NO2 is a gas which has a brown fumes. And what is the second observation? Lead oxide is a solid which is a yellow color residue. That's why in a picture they have shown you the brown fumes which represent nitrogen dioxide. Hope everybody is clear about this reaction. Then quickly let's go to the next, electrolytic decomposition, which we do with for water. When electricity is passed through the water, what happens? Do you remember? It breaks down into hydrogen plus oxygen. So I taught you whenever there is electricity, there are the electrodes, anode and cathode. Anode and cathode. Anode means positive, cathode means negative. At anode, which gas is there? Anybody? Oxygen. Please remember, at anode, oxygen is collected. At cathode, hydrogen gas is collected. So what is their volume ratio? 2:1. This is called volume ratio. What is the mass ratio? 1:8. And the next thing is, how do you identify the given gases? Which is the hydrogen, which is the oxygen? Hydrogen always burns with the pop sound. Hydrogen burns with the pop sound, whereas oxygen helps in the combustion. Flame becomes brighter. Flame becomes brighter. So this is one of the most important question of electrolytic decomposition of the water. And the next is activity 1.8. They have not put a heading photolytic decomposition. Under photolytic decomposition, we use the silver salt. One is this silver salt, silver chloride, which itself is a colorless. If you remember, if you expose the silver chloride in the sunlight, it turns gray. So the silver which is left here, it becomes gray, and chlorine gas is given out, right? And the one more reaction, there was the silver bromide, which gives you silver plus bromine, but the only difference is silver bromide itself is a yellow in color. So the most important use of these reaction, silver chloride and silver bromide photolytic reactions, they are used in black and white photography. And the most important question comes here. These decomposition reactions are endothermic. But are all decomposition reactions are endothermic? No. Most of decomposition reactions are endothermic, but there is one decomposition reaction which is exo. Anybody? It is given there below the respiration. Decomposition of the vegetable matter into compost is an example of exothermic. That is also decomposition, but that decomposition of vegetable matter is an exothermic reaction. Good job. So now let's move to the next reaction, which is our displacement reaction. As we all know about the displacement reaction, we have already learned in our lower classes. So displacement reactions are entirely based on the, if you remember, reactivity series, right? First of all, anybody know what is a displacement reaction, guys? Displacement reaction means when more reactive metal displaces less reactive metal from its salt solution. What does it mean? It means that if there is a more reactive metal like iron, if you put iron in a copper sulfate solution means aqueous, and everybody knows the color of copper based salt, blue. So if you see this reactivity series, iron is above the copper. The metal which is above the other metal, that is more reactive. So iron is more reactive than copper. So it will displace the copper. It will push the copper out and forms the compound with sulfate, which is called ferrous sulfate. Solution will turn green color and copper will be out. So this is the activity they have shown, where they have taken an iron nail before the reaction. They dip the iron nail into the copper sulfate solution. So when they took out the iron nail from the copper sulfate solution, why it is brown? Because copper get deposit on the iron nail. Am I clear? So there are so many reactions. Like if I use zinc plus hydrochloric. So see, zinc is above the hydrogen. So zinc is more reactive. It can push, it can displace the hydrogen out and form the compound here. Everybody clear? Any other? Third example, you can see there lead plus copper chloride. So lead, can you see in the reactivity series? Lead is above the copper. So lead is more reactive than copper. So what will happen? Lead will push the copper out. Lead will push the copper out and form the compound lead chloride. Am I clear? So balancing is mandatory. Generally, I shall tell you here one more point. Generally, displacement reactions are exothermic reaction. Please remember, it is not written in NCERT. NCERT is a very good book, guys. Read word to word, but sometimes they write here and there. So, exothermic reaction and displacement reactions are exothermic reactions. But shall I ask you here one question? If I put copper in a magnesium sulfate, will the reaction take place? No. If I put copper in a ferrous sulfate, will the reaction take place? No. Why? Because copper is below the magnesium, copper is below the iron, copper is less reactive. It cannot push the magnesium or iron from its salt solution. So always remember, displacement reactions are also known as a single displacement. Can we use this word here? Displacement means single displacement, where one reactant is in a form of an element and another is in a form of a compound. So displacement reactions are entirely based on the reactivity series. Now come to the double displacement reactions. 100% 1 mark question come from here. So double displacement reaction means here displacement is there but no reactivity series. What does it mean? In here, what is the speciality about the double displacement reaction, guys? Double displacement reaction, here if you will ask me, here both reactants are in the form of aqueous solution. For example, if you see here, sodium sulfate and barium chloride, both are in the form of aqueous solution compound. So they are mixed. So they are combining. But how do they combine? By exchange of their ions. So how they combine? By exchange of their ions. How shall we do it? Let's do it on the next page. So if anybody say me how, like barium chloride aqueous solution, right guys, plus sodium sulfate Na2SO4, how do they combine? When I am saying exchanging their iron, see here barium is a plus, chloride is a negative, whereas sodium is a plus, sulfate is negative. They exchange their ions with this barium. This barium will combine with this sulfate. So what will it become? Barium sulfate. Am I clear? But what is the speciality? It is an insoluble solid. What is this? Insoluble solid. And one more thing, it is called precipitate. So insoluble solid is called precipitate. And what is left here? Sodium chloride. And both are 2 atoms. So, but we know sodium chloride is soluble. Hope everybody understood. One more reaction is there. If you will ask me any other example, yes, very easy example is there, guys. You can take a strong base plus strong acid. So, if you will see here, this sodium will combine with this chlorine, sodium chloride aqueous. See here, both are the compounds are in the form of aqueous solution plus water. Now, what we have understood from here, if I tell you here, I have understood here, double displacement reaction are of 2 types. Double displacement reactions are of 2 types. It is a precipitate reactions, or second is the neutralization reaction. Neutralization reaction. Right? Hope everybody understood. Precipitate means where two aqueous solution combines to form an insoluble precipitate solid, that is called precipitation. Like I can take barium chloride with aluminium sulfate. Shall we do this reaction, guys? You know, guys, kids, please remember one thing. Whenever we are doing chemistry, before starting the chemistry, always close your eyes, recall all the formulas. Yes, sodium chloride is NaCl, aluminum sulfate is Al2SO4 thrice, BaCl2 is barium chloride, like every day, like how we used to learn the tables in our childhood. Similarly, we should learn the formulas. And before going to bed, please revise formulas. So how will it combine? Barium sulfate, and please remember barium sulfate is always which color precipitate? White color precipitate. Yes, here we should also mention the color. In the last, I will give you the all colors in a separate table so that you can every day revise their colors. Plus, what will form here? AlCl3, because aluminium has a valency 3. But here there are two aluminiums. Now chlorine has become 6. Can we do this? Is it right? So here, how many sulfate? 3, right? 3 twos are 6, 3 twos are 3, 2 aluminium, and how many sulfate it is? It is a 3, so shall I put 3? But now barium has become 3. Oh, I should put it here 3. I'm sorry, guys. It is 3 here, not 3 twos are 6. Am I clear? Okay. Now, can we do this reactivity series? This activity, please, let's do together. You have mixed a solution of lead nitrate. Anybody formula of lead nitrate? PbNO3 twice, right? Plus, what is the aqueous solution? Potassium iodide. Please note down. You can write in your NCERT itself. What does it form? This positive, this negative, this positive, this negative. So what will it form? Lead iodide, PbI2, yellow precipitate, plus what will it form? KNO3. But there are the two molecules of nitrate. So can I put 2 potassium? Can I put 2 iodine? So our reaction is complete. So let's see what the question they have asked. What is the color of precipitate? Yellow. Name the compound precipitate. PbI2, lead iodide. Lead iodide, yellow precipitate. Balanced chemical equation we have already written. Is this a double displacement reaction? Yes. Both the compounds react by exchange of ions forms the insoluble solid. So it is a double displacement precipitation reaction. Guys, clear? There is one more question on double displacement. I think it is on the next page. Not here. Yes, here it is. Let's do this is also. This is something special about this reaction. That's why I'm saying that NCERT writes everything, but NCERT writes very randomly. So the best way to do the science with me is always follow me and keep the loose sheet with you. Wherever you find, I am giving you extra information, any extra color combinations or reaction here and there, you can write under that topic and staple it, right? So let's write this reaction. Take about 2 gram of barium hydroxide. Let's take 2 gram of barium hydroxide. It is an aqueous solution. Add 1 gram of ammonium chloride. We are adding ammonium chloride. Okay. So what does it form? Now both are compounds. Aqueous solution, right? Mix them with the help of glass rod. touch the bottom of the test tube with your palm, what do you feel? It is exothermic reaction. See, how do we remember? It is a barium chloride, it is an aqueous solution, and ammonium hydroxide is also aqueous solution. There is no precipitate reaction, no precipitate form. But what is the speciality? When you do this reaction, when you touch the bottom of the test tube, do you feel hot or cold? We feel cold. So cold means D letter, endothermic reaction. So which reaction it is? Endothermic. This is the speciality of this reaction, guys. Please remember, please remember this reaction, barium hydroxide with ammonium chloride. It is a double displacement reaction. It is an endothermic double displacement reaction. Sometime examiner asks, give one example of endothermic double displacement reaction, or a reaction which is double displacement as well as endothermic. Hope everybody is clear. Shall we go to the last topic now? We are going to our last topic. What is the last topic? Oxidation reduction reactions. Oxidation reduction reactions. So what is the speciality about oxidation and reduction? I am erasing this part. So oxidation. Let's first understand what do you mean by oxidation and reduction. Once you are clear with the meaning, you can easily do these reactions. Oxidation reduction reaction are also known as redox reactions. So if anybody asks you, what do you mean by the redox reaction? What will you tell? You will tell the reactions in which oxidation and reduction takes place. But Radhika auntie, what is oxidation reactions? Okay, let's understand. Oxidation means oxygen. The reaction in which addition of oxygen takes place. In which addition of oxygen takes place. Right? Okay. Any other definition? Yes. Just opposite of it, removal of hydrogen. Removal of hydrogen. Because sometimes they trick you, define oxidation in terms of hydrogen. Then we can't write addition of oxygen. Then what will we write? Removal of hydrogen. And what is the third definition? Loss of electron by atom is also called oxidation. So here shall I ask you one question? Which atom lose electrons? Metals or non-metals? Yes, you guys are correct. Metals. Metals lose electron. They form positive ions. They lose electron, right? They form positive ions. So metals always undergo oxidation. And what about reduction? Reduction is just vice versa of oxidation. Removal of oxygen. Reduction, remove. It is clear from that name. Removal. Removal of oxygen from compound is called reduction. What is the second definition? Obviously, if oxygen is removed, what will we add? Addition of oxygen. Addition of oxygen. What is the third? Gain of electrons. Gain of electrons. And who gains the electron? Non-metals. Non-metals. Shall I tell you one thing here if you want to learn in a fun way method? Metals are rich-hearted. They lose the electron. They donate the electron. Non-metals are like beggars. They accept the electrons. They gain the electrons. Like, have you seen near the temples, beggars are sitting. They are accepting the donations. So metals donate, so they give the positive. Non-metals gain, so they get the negative. Non-metals gain electrons, though they form the negative ions. And for non-metals and for negative. So always remember, non-metals are negative, they are undergoing reduction. Am I clear? So here they have written, if the substance gain oxygen, what gains means addition of oxygen, it is called oxidized. If the substance lose oxygen, loss of oxygen, it is called reduction. Now here one activity which is very important. Everybody know copper is a metal which is a shiny brown metal. What is the speciality of copper? Shiny brown metal. Copper is a shiny brown metal. So if you heat it, it does not catch fire, but it get black. It get black. It get black, right? Why does it get black? Because copper react with oxygen to form the copper oxide. Copper oxide, which is a black color compound. Which is a black color compound. Shall I show you the example? See kids, we have a copper utensils in our kitchen. It is a shiny brown metal. But when we cook, can you see this has become black in color? Because it is oxidized. So it is a very simple example you can see in your real life. So copper is a shiny brown. When it oxidizes, it becomes black. Please remember. What do you observe? Because it has become a black coated, because copper oxide has formed. Copper has undergone oxidation. But when hydrogen gas is passed over the copper oxide, what will happen? This copper oxide, this oxygen will be removed. Please look carefully. I am erasing and I am explaining again. When you pass the hydrogen, see this reaction. Here it is a copper oxide, right? And in the product only copper is there. In the reactant it is a copper oxide. In the product it is a copper. If you compare the reactant and product, oxygen has been removed. So it means copper oxide is undergoing reduction. Yes, copper oxide is undergoing reduction. It means hydrogen is alone here. If you compare it with the product, oxygen is added. So who is undergoing oxidation? Hydrogen. So hydrogen is undergoing oxidation. Here always remember one thing. Your answers lies in the reactants. Just you have to see with which atom oxygen is added or with which atom oxygen is removed. But your answers are always in the reactants, not in the products. Got it? Now next. One more example. Zinc oxide plus carbon. I have written here. I will show you here on the board. Zinc oxide plus carbon give you zinc plus copper oxide, carbon monoxide, right? So first question is, which compound is undergoing oxidation and reduction? Compare. Here it is a zinc oxide, but here it is only zinc. So now question arises that oxygen is removed. So zinc oxide is undergoing reduction. Yes, it is undergoing reduction. But here carbon is alone. But if you compare it with the product, it is oxygen is added. So it is undergoing oxidation. Am I clear? Next. Oh, Radhika ma'am, there is no oxygen. No need to worry, hydrogen is there. See, chlorine is alone here. But if you compare it with the product, hydrogen is added to chlorine. Addition of hydrogen is called reduction. Yes, it means other compound is from here hydrogen is removed, means H2SO becoming a sulfur. It is undergoing oxidation. Yes. Next, aluminium is alone here, but it is forming AlCl3. See here, aluminium is neutral, 0. But when it is forming the compound, it is losing the electron and it is getting +3. Means it is losing the electron, so it is undergoing oxidation. Right? Am I clear? It means HCl is undergoing reduction. Okay. Now, I want to add one thing here more. The substance which undergo oxidation. What is it called? It is called reducing agent. Vice versa, ulta. And the substance which is undergoing reduction, what is that called? Oxidizing agent. What is that called? Oxidizing agent. Am I clear? For example, like you guys all have written here, zinc oxide is undergoing reduction. Who is doing its reduction? Its friend, it's another reactant, carbon. Carbon is undergoing oxidation. So, it is undergoing reduction. So, what is it called? Oxidizing agent. And carbon is called, which is undergoing reduction, that is called reducing agent. Similarly here, this is undergoing oxidation, it is called reducing agent, and who is undergoing reduction, that is called oxidizing agent. Got it, guys? Shall I give you one question here? Okay. You guys tell me here this reaction. This is a chocolate question. The kids who come to my classes, they generally get a lots of chocolate from me because I love chocolates, and the person who gets the right answer, they get the chocolates. Okay, this is the reaction. Can I erase this one? Thank you. Okay, now this reaction, and I think it is not visible. Okay. MnO2 plus 4HCl give you MnCl2 plus 2H2O plus chlorine. Right, guys? They have given me this reaction. Now they are telling me find which is undergoing oxidation, which is undergoing reduction, which is acting as oxidizing agent, which is acting as reducing agent. Okay, let's find out. First of all, see the reactant, because you are answering the reactant. This is MnO2, oxygen is here, but here oxygen is removed. It means what is happening to MnO2? Oxygen is removed. Removal of oxygen is called reduction. So you will say MnO2 is undergoing reduction. It is reduced to MnCl2. MnO2 is undergoing reduction. It is reduced to MnCl2. Okay. Obviously, if this has undergo reduction, so HCl will undergo, guys, tell me, it will undergo oxidation. Very good. So how I am giving you the question here, HCl is oxidized to what? Tell me the right option. Oxidized to, is it oxidized to water or it is oxidized to chlorine? Think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, half of them are saying, Auntie, HCl is oxidized to water. But I say that HCl is oxidized to chlorine. Okay. Remember, HCl is oxidized to chlorine. You guys think at your level कि oxygen is added. Okay, no kana. See here, HCl. Chlorine is non-metal, hydrogen is attached. From chlorine, hydrogen is removed. So HCl is oxidized to chlorine. In the exam, they will give you both options. HCl is oxidized to chlorine, HCl is oxidized to water. So which option you will correct? Which is the correct option? HCl is oxidized to chlorine. Okay, who is undergoing oxidation? What is that called? Reducing agent. And who is undergoing reduction? That is called the oxidizing agent. Finish. So easy na? I hope everybody has understood. Let's finish up the chapter with the last topic. Last topic is very, very easy. Corrosion. Oh, before that there is one activity is there. Let's see what is the activity. Where a magnesium ribbon burns with a dazzling flame in the air changes into white powder, magnesium oxide. Is magnesium oxidized or reduced? Good question. Let's see. What will I say that? Magnesium burns with oxygen. Yes, it burns with a white dazzling flame, magnesium oxide. It is a grayish white powder. Grayish white powder. It is a combination reaction. It is an exothermic reaction and it is a oxidized. Magnesium is oxidized. So what will be saying? Magnesium is oxidized. You know, one question is here coming to my mind. Why magnesium ribbon is cleaned before burning? Do you know? Generally, magnesium ribbon, when we burn, first we clean it with a sandpaper. Why? Because magnesium generally get a coating of the magnesium carbonate and magnesium oxide. If we don't remove this coating, it get corroded. If we don't remove this coating, it will interfere in the burning. The magnesium ribbon will not burn efficiently. So before burning the magnesium ribbon, we should clean the magnesium ribbon with a sandpaper to remove that corroded layer. Okay, one more question. Magnesium oxide is acidic in or basic in nature? It is basic in nature because it is a metal oxide. When there was a COVID time, first semester was fully MCQ. So they asked this question. Magnesium oxide is a basic in nature. So when the magnesium oxide, this ash powder is dissolved in the water, what does it form? Magnesium hydroxide. So it is also basic alkaline in nature, which turn red litmus paper to blue. Red litmus paper to blue. Okay. Now let's do the last topic, corrosion of the metals. What do you mean by word corrosion? Corrosion means when metals react with the moisture, air, gases in the air, maybe oxygen, maybe hydrogen sulfide, maybe sulfur compounds, or maybe carbon dioxide. Different metals react differently. So they are called corroded. So like if anybody asks me, I'm erasing this part guys. So I have generally in our syllabus we have a iron, we have a copper, we have a silver metal. Because these are the metal generally we found these metal in our homes. So iron, see here they have written, when a metal is attacked by substances such as moisture, acid, or you can write atmospheric gases, it is said to be corroded and process is called corrosion. Process is called corrosion. So what is the corrosion of iron called? Iron corrosion is called rusting. What is it called? Rusting. Do you remember how the rust forms? You guys must have seen your iron windows, cycles, or the iron gates. Generally, we keep them painted or they are alloyed. Why? To prevent them from rusting. Because iron reacts with oxygen and moisture in the air. It does not happen immediately. It takes a long time. So it forms Fe2O3 X water. X means there is no fixed number of water in the rust. It is a reddish brown color compound which is called rust. Sometimes they ask you the formula of rust also in the exam. They will say you Fe2O3 10 water, Fe2O3 7 water, FeSO4 7 water. So what is the formula of the rust? Fe2O3 X water. There is no fixed number of water molecule. It reacts with oxygen and moisture. What about copper? Copper reacts with the carbon dioxide, oxygen and moisture in the air. What does it form? It forms copper carbonate, copper hydroxide. Anybody know what is the color of this coating? Green color coating. And these are all basic in nature. Copper carbonate, copper hydroxide. Copper utensils are generally get tarnished. In the puja room, we generally have a copper utensils, or I showed you in our kitchen, we have a copper. If we have a water jug, people say that it is very good if you drink the water in a copper based jug, but it is equally very important to clean them properly, because copper vessels generally get a green coating because they react with oxygen, carbon dioxide and moisture. And what about the third? Silver metal. Silver react with the sulfur compounds in the air to form the black coating of silver. Black coating of silver, right? This is a black coating of silver. What is the black coating represent? Ag2S. And the green coating on copper, what is the green coating on copper? Copper carbonate, copper hydroxide. They are the example of corrosion. Is corrosion is good? No. See, corrosion is good for aluminium metal, that is called anodizing, because that anodizing prevents the further metal to get corroded. But it is not always good because it can damage the car bodies, bridges, iron nails, ships, and it is a huge loss to the government every year, because government has to repair the bridges. So many iron bridges are there, so many iron monuments are there in our country. I think everybody is clear. Now come to the last topic of the chapter, rancidity. Rancidity means oxidation of oils and fats in our kitchen. Do you find oil, ghee in our kitchen? Mama never buys 100 liters of oil full of full year. Does it? No. She always buys 5 liter, 10 liters so that it can be consumed in a 2-3 months or 4 months, but we never buy so much together because the oils have a tendency to get oxidized. Fats have tendency to get oxidized. That oxidation of oil and fat is called rancidity. When the fats and oil get oxidized, they become rancid, their smell change, color change, taste change. There is a foul smell. So generally, have you ever seen, okay, if we make a chips at our home and fry, and we consume within a week, but if we keep it in a month, they generally get we generally get the smell from the chips. Why? Because we don't add any preservative. But when you buy the Lay's or the Uncle chips or so many chips, Kurkure and Nachos, why they are so crispy and fresh? Why they don't get rancid? They are also 6 months old, 4 months old, because they are preserved. There are preservatives, and moreover that the chips are packed with a very special gas, nitrogen. Nitrogen is an inert gas which prevents the oxidation. When the companies make the chips and then they do the packing, they remove all the oxygen, vacuum is created, and then in the chips packet they put the nitrogen gas. Nitrogen is an anti-oxidizing agent, prevents the oxidation of the fats. Manufacturers usually flush the bags of chips with the nitrogen to prevent them from the oxidation. Okay, can you tell me any other ways how can we prevent the oxidation? Yes, we can keep the food in the airtight containers. See, first point, keep the food in airtight containers, right? Second, you can add the preservative, airtight containers. Second, preservatives. Third, stored vacuum packing, airtight containers, right? Vacuum packing. What else? What else we can do? Store them at a low temperature. Store them at low temperature. And what is the next point? I think fifth point we can say that keep them away from the direct sunlight. Keep keep them away from direct sunlight. I think everybody understood here. So here your chapter is finished. I would like to request all of you, please go through all the blue box question, back exercise question, all that back exercise questions. See here, MCQs is there, complete the reaction is there, and that these questions are there. Go through them, write every reaction. Soon I will post all my NCERT answers in a YouTube. So keep following me. Thank you so much. If there is any doubt, please DM me. Thank you.